We're in a Bible series walking through the Old Testament. We have come all the way from Genesis chapter 1 to today. I'm very excited. We get to a brand new book of the Bible. Today we enter the book of Ruth. The book of Ruth. So we've gone Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Judges. Today we're in the book of Ruth. And it's a beautiful story crafted. It's honestly one of my favorite books of the Bible. Ruth is a short story, only about 4 chapters long. And at first glance, if you read it just one time through, it's just this, it looks like just a domestic drama about famine, about family, about loyalty, about survival, a book about ordinary people who live ordinary lives. But I'll tell you, it's a story that's much richer than that and has a meaning that is much more profound than just the ordinary words that you read in the book. In fact, if you want to know where the book is headed, you have to look at the very end. At the end of the book of Ruth, in the 4th chapter, you get this sudden, extraordinary revelation that all of these ordinary ideas and this ordinary people and this mundane kind of tragic account were leading to something extraordinary. This is what it says in Ruth chapter 4, verse 17. It says, "The women living there said, 'Naomi has a son.'" We have to know who Naomi is. The story will tell us in a little bit. "And they named him Obed." That's the name of the son Naomi had. "He was the father of Jesse, the father of David." This is David, King David, the David of David and Goliath. The David who one day would become the father of Jesus Christ, our Lord. And what's woven into this story is of people going through challenges is also this divine outlook of God's hidden providence, of the way that God takes our lives and crafts it and weaves it into a wonderful tapestry. And what we're gonna see today, because we're gonna do the whole book today, that's our goal, is we're gonna see a story about death and despair, of a story about a destitute widow that leads us all the way to King David and then ultimately to the Messiah himself. It's a story about the way God takes our ordinary lives, with all of its twists and turns, their difficulties, their harsh realities, and our God, how he masterfully crafts them into a grand redemptive plan for the world. And there's that happening at the same time. But there's also this extraordinary intersection in this story, something that we can do about it, which the story also explores this concept that we don't know what hangs in the balance of our decision to say yes to the next thing that our God is prompting us to do. So you have the story of God's hidden providence, his divine will, the way he crafts our lives together, and then also the story of the way that God whispers in our ear, "Will you be faithful to me?" And if we say yes, the way those two ideas overlap and transform lives is one of the most beautiful things, and we see it beautifully articulated in this book, the book of Ruth. So we're gonna look together. We're gonna start in chapter 1. So if you have a Bible, you can turn there with me. We open up the pages of Ruth chapter 1, and what we discover is that Ruth is happening in the time of the Judges. The Judges is a dark era. We've been studying it for the past couple of weeks, summarized by that haunting phrase that in the time of the Judges, everyone did as they saw fit. And in the midst of that moral and spiritual famine that we've discussed over the past couple of weeks, a physical famine happens. It hits Israel and it hits the land, and it strikes Israel in such an intense way that this family decides that they actually don't want to be in Israel anymore. They don't want to be in their homeland called Bethlehem, ironically, which means the house of bread, where there is no bread. And this family decides they want to move away from this land and go to the land of Moab. It's a land that's not really their own land. It's a foreign land, but in Moab there's food. And so they take their family, this husband takes his family, his wife named Naomi, his 2 sons, and they head off to the land of Moab. And there in that foreign land, tragedy strikes. First, Naomi's husband dies. Her sons then decide to marry Moabite women, so they marry foreigners. A woman named Orpah and a woman named Ruth. And then, after about 10 years of being married, both of the sons die. So 10 years, what you have is Naomi. She's a widow. She's left her homeland. She's lost her husband, and she's lost her 2 sons. And all she has are these 2 daughters-in-law. She decides over a period of time, she hears word that the famine back in her homeland in Bethlehem has ended. And so she says, you know what, I'm gonna go home. It's time for me to go back to my heritage, back to my homeland, back to my people, because there's nothing for me in this land. And so she decides to go back home, but what is she gonna do with those daughter-in-laws? So this is what happens. This is chapter 1, verse 8. It says, then Naomi said to her 2 daughter-in-laws, go back, each of you, to your mother's home. May the Lord show you kindness, as you have shown kindness to your dead husbands, and to me. May the Lord grant that each of you will find rest in the home of another husband. Then she kissed them. She kissed them goodbye, and they wept aloud and said to her, we will go back with you to your people. She's saying, hey, look, I just want you to go back to your homeland, or to stay here in your homeland. I'm leaving, but if you stay here, you have the chance of being married again, having children. They have no children. You're young. You're beautiful. You're wonderful daughters. Stay here. If you follow me, your life will have nothing. It will be nothing. And they say, no, we want to go back with you. You are such a wonderful mother-in-law that we want to be with you. Even if I thought there was still hope for me, she says, even if I had a husband tonight and then gave birth to sons, would you wait until they grew up? Would you remain unmarried for them? No, my daughters. It is more bitter for me than for you, because the Lord's hand has turned against me. Notice what she's saying. She believes in the providential hand of God, and she says, God has turned on her. Why would you want to go with me? Why would you want to be with me? I'm a person who has the punishment of God's hand upon her. Don't go with me. At this, they wept aloud. Then Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. This word cling to is the word that we get in Genesis, where it says a husband would cling to his wife. This is the idea of them becoming a singular flesh. This is like, no, you are me and I am you, and I am not going to leave you. I'm not gonna leave you. I'm sticking with you. Orpah has decided to go home, and so Naomi is just pleading with Ruth. You join her, return home. It's gonna be better for you. She says this, look, said Naomi, your sister-in-law is going back to her people and her gods. Go back with her. She's returning to a safe place with a good past. You know what's back there. Go there, it's better for you. But Ruth replied, don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. And where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates you and me. When Naomi realizes that Ruth is determined to go with her, she stops urging her. Orpah makes the sensible choice. She tearfully obeys Naomi and returns. Where does she go? Orpah returns to her family, to her gods, to her past. But Ruth does something radical. She holds on tight and says, no, your people, the people of Israel, will be my people. Well, they don't just accept any people. They only accept those who worship their gods. So she doubles down and says, no, your God will be my God also. I'm abandoning the gods of my past, of my youth, of my family heritage, and I am following the God of Yahweh. She makes a choice of faithful loyalty, She makes an extraordinary claim, and here is this Moabite woman, Ruth, and Abraham, as she's having an Abrahamic moment. You remember Abraham, the idol worshiper in the land of Ur, who God calls and says, come to a land you will later receive as your inheritance. And he obeys and goes. And here is this Moabite woman being prompted by the Holy Spirit, no, stay with your mother-in-law. And she obliges, obeys, and goes back with her mother-in-law and says, no, I want you to know it's not just your people are my people, but that God, the Lord, the one who you believe saved you out of Egypt and parted the Red Sea, he will be my God like he is your God. Ruth is leaving everything behind in pursuit of her mother-in-law and her mother-in-law's God. Naomi is kind of like, okay, whatever. Join me. Fine. You can come alongside, but I want you to see how bitter my life is. She arrives in Bethlehem back home. Naomi's bitterness is like everyone can see it. The whole town is buzzing. They're like, wait, Naomi is here. And she responds this way. She says, don't call me Naomi. Naomi means beautiful. It means beauty. Don't call me beauty. Call me Mara. It means bitter. Stop calling me beautiful. Call me bitter. I'm a bitter woman. Wow. Because the Almighty has made my life very bitter. You know, something really interesting here. Ruth has no idea what hangs in the balance of her decision to follow Naomi. She has no clue of where her life's going to lead. She has no idea. And here is Naomi, and she says, God has made my life very bitter, but she has no idea that standing right next to her, her daughter-in-law, is going to be proof of her future hope. That young Moabite woman who was faithful to her is going to show her the amazing, marvelous plans of God. Hey, don't call me beautiful. I'm bitter. I went away full. But the Lord, in his sovereignty and his plans, has brought me back empty. Just an encouragement to you. There are many times in life where you see your story and you think, wow, this is the end. God has ruined me. And what you don't know is that God has much more in store for you. Is that there is so much more in store. If you will just hold on for another 3 chapters. Chapter 2 opens with the introduction of a character, a man named Boaz. All right, ladies, chill out. Boaz is named a relative of Naomi's late husband. He's described as a wealthy man, a man of noble character, a man of good standing. And he just says, Boaz lived there. Hint, hint. And the story just keeps going. Ruth is now living with Naomi in Bethlehem. They're poor. They're widows. If in that day and age, if you're not married, there really is no real place for you. You're staying at an inn, probably in some distant relative's home. You can't make money. You can't really work as a woman in that culture. And so they're just poor widows and the widow's daughter-in-law. And so Ruth decides to go at least get some food for the family. And the way you would get food if you were a poor widow is you would glean. Gleaning is walking around a field and picking up after the harvesters. So after the barley harvest was finished, or the wheat harvest was finished, what would happen is that you would allow the poor and the foreigners to go behind you. And you would pick as much as you can, 95% of it, and that 5% that was kind of picked or left on the floor, you would allow the foreigners and the poor to receive. And that was called gleaning. And so Ruth, being a foreigner and a widow and poor, decides to go to a field and to begin to glean. And she goes and she gleans, and the Bible says this in chapter 2, verse 3. It says it like as though we're going to believe what it says. It says, as it turned out. Like it's a coincidence. Like God didn't have his sovereign hand on this. No. You know that person you met? I was walking down the street and someone just happened to bump into me. and said, do you want to know about the Lord? It was a mistake. Oh, I was just living my life, and then all of a sudden that video just popped up on the screen. I was just living my life, and all of a sudden I just felt like God said, go to church. It just happened to happen. And I typed into Google, right? Like, it doesn't happen that way in the economy of God. There are no mistakes. There are no coincidences. So it turned out she was working in the field belonging to Boaz. Boaz. She's working, she's gleaning, she's picking up the harvest. She's piling it into her bag or into her basket. And then Boaz arrives. Just then Boaz arrived from Bethlehem and greeted the harvesters. The Lord be with you. The Lord bless you, they answered. Boaz asked the overseers of the harvest, who does that young woman belong to? She is pretty. I've seen all the poor. I've seen all the women. This one looks different. Who's that woman there? The overseers replied, she is the Moabite woman who came back from Moab with Naomi. She said, let me glean and gather among the sheaves behind the harvesters. She came into the field and has remained here from morning till now, except for a short rest in the shelter. So Boaz said to Ruth, he calls her over, my daughter, listen to me. Don't go and glean in another field, and don't go away from here. Stay here with the women who work for me. Watch the field where the men are harvesting, and follow along after the women. I have told the men not to lay a hand on you. And whenever you are thirsty, go get some drink from the water jars the men have filled. He's being extraordinarily kind to her. He says, look, I want you to have kind of your pick. You can pick, just stay with the rest of the women. They work for me. Don't act like you're poor or you're a foreigner. I want you to be amongst my workers. And you can have it for yourself. In fact, you can also drink water from the place where you're not supposed to drink water from, the place the men drink water from. I'm going to allow you to have all of that. This is startling and amazing to Ruth. And so she replies. At this, she bowed down with her face at the ground. She asked him, why have I found such favor in your eyes that you noticed me, a foreigner? Boaz replied, I've been told all about what you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband, how you left your father and mother and your homeland and came to live with a people you did not know before. May the Lord repay you for what you have done. I have seen your faithfulness and your loyalty. So may you be richly rewarded by the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge. He gives her this blessing. He says, I want you to be blessed. You've been coming under the arms of the Lord. And I pray that he blesses you, he protects you, he keeps you safe. Man, look at the character of Boaz. What a great man. And so Naomi listens, she stays there, and she stays there a long time. And over time, she continues to gain more and more and more. And one day she comes home back to her mother-in-law, and she returns with too much. You know, like, how did you get that much? Did you steal it? Like, where could you have possibly accumulated all of this from gleaning in the fields? And so Ruth tells the story. Look, I was there and I met a man named Boaz. He heard the story, he talked to me. This is incredible. And Naomi is astounded. She's surprised. She's like, oh my, that man is our kinsman-redeemer. Okay, this is this weird little law in the Israelite code that meant that if there was a widow or a poor person in your family, there was a way that that person could be redeemed, could come under some protection. And the way it would work is their closest relative would make this deal with the city where, and I'm not going to describe all of it, but they would make this deal with this city where they would basically redeem their property and the family and allow that family to continue to progress. And so Naomi is listening to Ruth's story, and so Naomi goes, that's him. He's part of our family. And so Naomi, the bitter, Mara, the person who was once happy, who is now angry, becomes Naomi the schemer. The matchmaker. You know, you got those women in our church who are always like, I know someone. Oh, you're single? Come here. You see her? She's great. He's great. Oh, he's a man of noble character. And so she starts, the schemer, she decides to hatch this plan. And here's her plan. She gives some instructions, and they're good instructions. If you're a young single person looking for a mate, I got some good instructions from you that come from Naomi. Are you ready? She instructs Ruth first to take a shower. Brothers, to put on some perfume. You better smell good. And then to go on the date. And here's the way the date's gonna work. This date's super weird. I would not encourage any of you to do this, but this is the date. It's super weird. Go to the threshing floor. That's the place where basically all the grain has been harvested. It's in this large place, and it's just a place where men and women would work during the harvest. Go there and look around and find Boaz. Make sure you keep a good eye on him. Don't let him escape. And then he's gonna drink, and he's gonna eat, and he's gonna be merry, and he's gonna have a great time. And after all that hard work, and after all that good meal and that good drink, he's gonna fall asleep. And when he falls asleep, lay down next to him. He lays this way, you lay like this. A little perpendicular action. And what I want you to do, parallel sin, perpendicular, less. And what I want you to do, I'm just kidding. And what I want you to do is while he's laying there, uncover his feet. That's what you're supposed to do. Now, I don't know what, she's Naomi's an old head, so she knows stuff. And what she probably knows, I've read lots of commentaries, I spent so much time on this little part, it's too much. But what she probably knows is that men and women, when they're sleeping and you uncover their feet, they get cold. And so you wake up because what's happening? You're jarred, you're surprised, what's going on? And so that's what's happening. So wake him up, but wake him up in a subtle way. And when he wakes up, he's gonna find you laying there. And Ruth says to Naomi, I'll do what you say. I'll do it, whatever you say, I got you. Again, she has no idea. She has no clue the destiny of her life. We know now that the Messiah will come from her, but she has no idea what a simple obedience to that instruction will lead her life. And so, she does it. Chapter 3, verse 7, this is what it says. When Boaz had finished eating and drinking and was in good spirits, Naomi knew this was gonna happen. He went over and laid down at the far end of the grain pile, and Ruth sneakily approaches quietly, lays beside him, uncovers his feet, and in the middle of the night, something startled the man. Maybe it was the woman at his feet. He turned, and there was a woman laying at his feet. Who are you? You are gorgeous. Who are you? I am your servant Ruth, she said. Spread the corner of your garment over me, since you are my kinsman-redeemer. The Lord bless you, my daughter, he replied. This kindness is greater than that which you showed first. You have not run after younger men, whether rich or poor. When you read this, there's some weird stuff happening here, but I want you to just highlight this little section here. Remember when Boaz said to her, "You have come under the wings of the Lord"? And then now she's saying, "Can you put the cover of the garment over me?" This in the Hebrew is a very similar phrase. And a commentator I read said this line, which I think is just absolutely beautiful. He says this: Boaz, basically this is what Ruth is saying to Boaz. Boaz, you prayed that God would protect me. Now, will you be the answer to your own prayer? You prayed that God would protect me. Now, will you be the one who protects me? Will you be that person for me? And Boaz is just amazed. Why is he amazed? Because here's this young woman who is saying, I want to get married to you, Boaz, a mature man. And do you know why she wants to get married? It's not because of Ruth. It's because of Naomi. See, a young woman in this day could have gotten married to a young person. They could have kind of figured out life, but Ruth would have been left on the sideline. Naomi would have been left on the sideline. But with this arrangement, their whole family is redeemed. And say, Naomi showed incredible kindness by the act of Ruth marrying Boaz. And so when he wakes up and he sees, he goes, "This is amazing. What a faithful woman you are. What a faithful woman you are." And so the story goes, "And my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do for you as you ask. All the people of my town know that you are a woman of noble character. Although it is true that I am your kinsman-redeemer, there is another who is more closely related than I." He basically says, look, you're right, I can serve in that position, but actually there's someone closer to you than me. So let me just kind of make some arrangements. He says, lay there until morning, and I'll come back and help you out. And so that morning he goes to the courts, to the place where the elders are, and he says, hey, I would like to redeem the land that belongs to Naomi and her late husband, and I would like that. But there's another person ahead of me. And the guy goes, no, I'll take the land. And Boaz says, no, if you're gonna take the land, you have to take the Moabite woman also. And the guy goes, nah, I'm not interested in that. I just want the land, but if I have to take the woman, then I'll let go of both of them. And Boaz says, okay, I will take both the land and I will take Ruth as my wife. I will do it. And this is what happens. It says, then Boaz said on the day, I already said this, I'll skip here. Oh no, okay. At this, the kinsman-redeemer said, then I cannot redeem it because I might endanger my life. I'm gonna skip verses. No, what's the verse? I lost it. Okay, I'm just gonna read what it says. It says, then the elders and all the people at the gate said, we are witnesses. May the Lord make the woman who is coming into your home like Rachel and Leah, who together built up the family of Israel. What's so cool about this is he's saying, the elders are saying, let this woman Ruth be just like Leah and just like Rachel, who became the mothers of the entire people of Israel. They're prophetically declaring that this woman Ruth, this Moabite woman, will have an incredible legacy. This is such a great story. And so, it concludes in a beautiful way. Boaz takes Ruth as his wife, and the Lord enables her to conceive. She gives birth to a son, and the focus of the story shifts one last time back to Naomi. The women of Bethlehem all gather around her, and what they see is no longer a bitter woman or an empty woman, but they see someone who has been redeemed. And they praise the Lord and they say, it's better to have one amazing daughter-in-law than 7 sons. And at that time, they place this child, Obed, this newly conceived child, Obed, in the lap of Naomi. And Naomi, the woman who claimed that the Lord had brought her back empty, now has her arms, her lap, and her heart full. The story comes full circle. The emptiness has become filled. The bitterness has turned to joy. And right here, in that moment of quiet domestic joy, the curtain is pulled back. And there we see that line that we started with. Obed becomes the father of Jesse, and Jesse the father of David. Once again, the Lord has taken a story about famine, heartache, brokenness, grief, and also loyal faith of a foreign woman, and the integrity of a godly farmer, and a risky nighttime proposal, and a legal transaction at the city gates. And he took all of these moments, the ordinary, the extraordinary, the weird, the messy, and then he took the human piece, one act of faithfulness. He took it all together and wove it together to create the lineage of the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And that's the way the book of Ruth ends. But I'll tell you, it's not the way our discussion ends, because I want to just encourage you with something. Here's the promise for you today. I believe that God is working on your life. You got to believe it too. That every little avenue of your life, every interaction you have, God is working on it. Every time you're driving on the highway, and every stoplight, and every situation, and every job you took, and every job you denied, and every time your boss said something good or bad, and every engagement with your children, God is providentially guiding your life to something incredible. But as he does it, he leaves space for these moments where you can act faithfully. Where you can say, you know what? I'm gonna do that risky thing. I'm gonna step into the life I think God wants for me. And that I'm gonna listen to his gentle whisper that he's been whispering me for days or months or years. Go to church. Okay. And you do it. And all of a sudden God takes your life and that one act of faithfulness and he weaves it together for his grand story. He has all of those moments to get you out of your comfort zone, and he does it again and again and again. And here's my encouragement for you. You have no idea what hangs in the balance of a single faithful choice. You have no idea. I think about Ruth. Who would Ruth have been if she followed the way of her other sister-in-law? Who would she have been? You wouldn't even know her name. You have never heard her story. But instead, in that one moment, she decided, you know what? I'm gonna step out on faith. And I'm gonna do what I believe the Lord is calling me to do in this moment. I think about Peter, the Apostle Peter, who was a fisherman. And one day, on the Sea of Galilee, the Messiah came to him and said, you know what, can I hop on your boat and preach to those people? And he said, okay. And he got into the boat, he allowed the Messiah in his boat. And they went off shore just a couple of yards. And after the Messiah preached, after Jesus preached the word, he said to Peter, he said, why don't you fish a little bit more? And Simon is like, oh, I don't know, man. We've been out all night. You fish at night, you don't fish in the day. We've been out all night, and plus, aren't you a carpenter? You don't even know how to fish. What if we fish just one more time, Jesus says. I don't know, we fished all night, but because you said so, I'm gonna let down my nets. And he let it down, and he had that great catch, and then immediately after, Jesus is there, and he says, what does he say? Come, follow me. And Peter goes, okay, if you can fill those nets, you can fill my life. And he steps off that boat and he follows him. But Peter had no idea what hung in the balance of that small decision to say yes to Jesus, I will fish. And I'm telling you, you have no idea. You have no idea. What would Peter have been? An unknown fisherman from Galilee. Instead, he becomes the anchor of the church. All because he said yes. I tell you, every one of us have quiet things that God is whispering in our ears. He's telling you, why don't you forgive? Why don't you finally say, I'm sorry? You know that relationship that's been fractured for so long? Why don't you reconcile it? You know that sin that you've been hiding for so long? Why don't you just confess it? But I'm afraid. I'm scared. Just do it. You know that person that's been trying to get with you to talk to you about your life and you've kept on declining them and kept on declining them? He's saying, just say yes one time. Come out of your comfort zone one time. You have no clue what hangs in the balance of that faithful decision. I think about Acts chapter 17. I'm going to close with this. In Acts 17, it says that God has orchestrated the exact places where you should live and the times where you should live in order that you, and it uses this word, you might reach out for him. That you might reach out for him. God has been orchestrating your life, asking you to make some simple decisions. Brothers and sisters, I want to encourage you, whatever it is that's in your mind right now, whatever that is right there, do it. Become more committed. Become more faithful. If your Christianity has become stale, decide to recommit to answering the Lord's call, to doing whatever he says. Look, your stories may feel small and those decisions may feel insignificant, but at the hand of our loving and sovereign God, the God of Naomi, the God of Ruth, and the God of Boaz, your ordinary life is part, if you're willing to, make faithful decisions. Your ordinary life is part of a grand, beautiful, eternal, amazing story of redemption. Amen?